My name's Tiffany. I'm 37. My husband Joseph and I have been married for 15 years. We have 2 boys aged 13 and 10. Joseph's family runs their own business, a house cleaning service started by his grandfather. All the employees there are kind-hearted. They even put on a full-on dance troupe performance at our wedding, showing some real dedication. The company's doing well, stable, and reputable. The founder, my grandfather-in-law, has since retired and is enjoying his days in a lovely retirement home. Joseph's dad, the second in command, passed away due to illness 2 years after we got married. Joseph is technically the 3rd-generation president, but he's more like a site supervisor in his day-to-day. The ones calling the shots are my mother-in-law, Kimmy, and Joseph's sister, Donna. Kimmy is the vice president, and Donna is the executive director. The founder and my father-in-law always treated their employees with respect and trained them well. That's why the staff is competent and adept at handling any issues that arise. This stability is a testament to their hard work. Joseph is doing his best to follow in their footsteps, prioritizing his employees. But Kimmy and Donna, the vice president and executive director, just don't seem to get it. They lack that sense of genuinely valuing the staff. Joseph always says, "The company runs thanks to our employees." But all Kimmy and Donna do is scoff at him. 90% of Joseph's complaints about work are about them. I don't work for the family business. I have a job at the city hall, so I don't really understand much about the family company. I wish I could wield my status as the president's wife, confront the vice president and the executive director, and tell them off for their attitudes. But that's just not possible. Especially since Joseph is the president only in name, which means I don't have any real authority to speak of. The sad news came in winter. My father had passed away. We found out about his illness in the summer. He was hospitalized at the end of autumn for treatment, but he didn't make it to the new year. I returned to my family home with my son Daniel and the others. My husband would follow later, running behind. "Why isn't Dad coming with us?" "His work's swamped during winter. He'll come afterward, don't worry." His family's business is booked solid with cleaning jobs, yet he'd make it somehow. Said he'd find a way. The boys seemed anxious. It was their first funeral. My mother, she was the face of the funeral, worn and weary. I stood by her, a heartbroken daughter, planning the ceremony, waiting for my husband's arrival. I was hurting, anxious, in need of support myself. I tried to look away from the coffin holding my father as much as possible, keeping busy for caring for Mom and the boys. That's how I was coping. My husband arrived the night before the funeral, straight from work in his work clothes. He apologized the moment he stepped in. "Sorry I'm late." "No, it's all right. You must be tired. Thanks for making it during such a busy time."
"Can I pay my respects to your father?"
"Yes, this way." He closed his eyes, praying earnestly to my father. Seeing him, tears just wouldn't stop. It was a relief, too, I think. That made me cry out loud, despite my age. He wrapped his arms around me gently. Then came the funeral day. The presence of my husband calmed the boys down a bit. Mother was still visibly drained, but she held on till the end. After everything, one of the boys remarked, "Strange, Grandma and Aunt Donna didn't show up, did they?" "It's a busy season. Maybe they are working hard, so Dad could be here with us." We'd stay a few more days, but my husband had to return to work the next day. "Joseph, give my regards to Kimmy and Donna."
"Sure, but if they couldn't make it, they could have at least called me,"
he said, frustration clear in his voice. I agreed but kept silent, knowing well it was their peak season too. 3 days after my husband left, my sons and I also went back home. When I got home, I went over to my husband's family's place to say hello. I had to report that the funeral went without a hitch and to thank them for allowing my husband to attend during such a busy time. And of course, I brought a cake to the family office, but something seemed off when I arrived. Papers were scattered all over the desks. Empty takeout containers were overflowing from a trash can. And there, to my surprise, was a sleeping bag. A familiar one. It was our sleeping bag. What's going on here? I exclaimed in shock. Just then, my husband emerged from the bathroom, looking utterly exhausted, his hair a mess like a bird's nest.
Ah, Tiffany, you're back. How's your mother doing?
He asked wearily. Yeah, I'm back. What happened here? I questioned, puzzled.
Well, this...
He sighed deeply and slumped.
The employees had collected some money to buy a gift for your father.
He explained. What, really? They shouldn't have. Oh no, this cake is definitely not enough then. I realized, feeling a bit guilty.
But wait, there's more.
He continued, blinking slowly, his eyes heavy with fatigue.
With that money, Mom and Donna went on a trip, he revealed.
What? I was astounded and dropped the cake box, which hit my foot. But that wasn't even the main issue. As I wiped my foot, I asked, a trip with the money for the gift?
Yeah, when I got back from the funeral, the house was empty. I called them, worried, and they said, we're on a trip with some extra money we came into. Can you believe that? They called the money the employees had gathered extra income. I was dumbfounded. It's so inconsiderate, I couldn't believe it. I felt terrible for the employees and for your mother.
He looked so downcast that I stopped wiping my foot and started to rub his back instead. My foot was still dirty, but my husband seemed to be in a worse state.
They laughed it off when I told them to come back, saying I was making too much of the busy season. Sure, it's busy, but taking a trip with the money the employees collected and not even showing up at the funeral? I can't believe my own parents and sister are like that.
Yeah, I'm shocked too. But it's not your fault. Don't be so hard on yourself. Why is there a sleeping bag here, though? Have you been staying here? I inquired.
I had a lot of paperwork to do. There's always more during the busy season. And now with Mom and Donna gone, without finishing their work,
he trailed off. So that meant my husband hadn't had a break from work since the night before the funeral until today. I rushed my husband home. While he took a nap and returned, I was in charge of the office. Answering the phones and cleaning were within my wheelhouse. Cleaning the office, I felt my anger rising. I was too shocked to be angry when I first heard my husband's story. Kimmy and Donna had disregarded their own father. They scoffed at his advice, mocked the employees' feelings, and on top of that, they were careless and irresponsible at work. I couldn't forgive such a pileup of unpleasantness. Just because I'm the wife of a normal president doesn't mean I should step back. I'll give Kimmy and Donna a piece of my mind when they return. My husband looked better after some sleep at home. That was a relief. While I was updating him on the phone calls received during his absence, a taxi stopped in front of the office. Out stepped Kimmy and Donna. We're back. Oh, Tiffany, is the funeral over? We got the gift money. Here's a souvenir for you. I was taken aback by Kimmy's words. They got the gift money? Unaware of my grimace, Kimmy pushed the souvenir towel into my hands. Mom, hold this. Joseph, help Mom with the luggage. Donna was acting too normal. They had been on a trip, hadn't they? Taking the gift money? Abandoning work during the busy season? What are you thinking? A whole mess of insensitivity.
Mom, Donna, I told you to cut the trip short and come back. It's crazy to take a trip with the gift money.
What? Are we still talking about that? Kimmy twisted her face in displeasure. The money from our employees is originally the company's money, right? It returned to us from the employees. There's no problem using it. What? How does that make any sense?
The money wasn't given to you, Mom. It was collected for Tiffany's father by everyone.
Exactly. Huh? Tiffany's father has nothing to do with our company.
They all attended the wedding, so they know him.
Knowing him means they should take the company's money? That's like being parasites. They gallivant around with the benevolence of others and call people parasites? I can't stand it anymore. What do you mean by parasites? Huh? Are you mad? Why? Why? Well, look, Tiffany, that's our money, so it's up to us to decide whether to give it to someone else or not. Understand? Huh? Kimmy and Donna seemed completely unapologetic. Their faces say they don't understand why I'm angry. I'm the one confused by what Kimmy and Donna are saying. More than a lack of appreciation for their employees, these two lack common sense. It's like talking to aliens. It sends chills down my spine, how they've managed to run a business up until now. What should I do? Is there nothing to be done? But I refuse to suffer in silence. As I ponder what to do, my husband takes a deep breath as if he's made up his mind and begins to speak. Mom, Donna, I can't do this anymore. I can't trust you two. If I stay any closer, I fear I'll end up despising you, so I'm leaving the company. What are you talking about? You can't do that. This company has been handed down through our family. Our grandchild will take over, so you can't quit. Tiffany, you'd be troubled if Joseph quit his job, wouldn't you? Our child's future is already decided for them. If my children choose that path for themselves, that's fine, but I hate having it decided for them without their input. And my husband, it must be torture to continue working with someone he can't trust, especially if it's family. I can't say there aren't worries like, what will we do, or what about the income? But more than that, it's harder for both my husband and me to keep struggling here unnecessarily. No, it won't be a problem. My firm reply left Kimmy and Donna with their eyes wide open. They were surprised at our decision, but they didn't offer a single word of apology. It's infuriating, but it also gave me a sense of closure. I'll become the breadwinner instead of my husband. My husband, having left his family's company, started his own. Using the knowledge he had accumulated from years of work, he started a house cleaning business. The first year was tough, but his meticulous work and consistent effort paid off, and the business's reputation grew, leading to increased performance. By the second year, we had reservations nearly every day, and by the third year, we were hiring employees. By the fourth year of starting the business, my time as the main earner came to an end. Everything was going smoothly. Our children looked up to their father with respect. It was really good that we left my husband's family home. During that time, we received sad news. My grandfather-in-law had passed away. He died peacefully in his sleep in a nursing home, discovered by the staff. Since my husband's independence, we had been almost estranged from his family, but we couldn't ignore the funeral of the grandfather-in-law. It was his teaching to value your employment that made my husband the man he is today. We got ready and headed to the funeral. The funeral was full of familiar faces. Relatives, of course, neighbors, and employees of my husband's family company were there. Everyone knew we were almost estranged from my husband's family home. Being glanced at made us feel a bit uncomfortable. As we stood quietly on the sidelines, Kimmy spotted her husband and approached him. "Joseph, you're here. Have you said hello to Grandpa?" "Yeah, first thing when I arrived." "Tiffany's here too, I see." "Yes, it's been a while." Not wanting to mention that Kimmy didn't attend my father's funeral, I refrained from bringing it up and instead greeted her. "Did you bring a gift? Have you given it yet?" "Yeah, I did. Hopefully Mom and Donna won't think about spending the gift money on another trip, right?" "Let's not talk about that now." Kimmy said that firmly and then whispered to her husband. "By the way, how's work going? If you're making enough, could you lend some to Mom and the others?" "Huh? Are the funeral expenses high?" "That's part of it, but could you just lend us $10,000 for now?" $10,000? I can't just come up with that kind of money on the spot. What a letdown. I thought I could count on you." She snapped and stormed off. The boys were in shock. Understandably so. Being confronted with such a demand would startle anyone, let alone a child. We decided to take them to the grocery store outside to distract them, where we ran into Kevin, a longtime employee at my husband's family company. "Joseph, long time no see. Thank you for coming to Grandfather's funeral." After exchanging greetings with Kevin, the conversation continued. "Man, ever since you left, our company has been struggling. The young folks keep quitting.
leaving only us old-timers. Really, I hope it's not because of something Mom and Donna did. No. It's more to do with the revised pay scale and bonus cuts. Those two seem to lack a sense in business management.
Kevin chuckled weakly. Well, it's the same folks who think it's fine to spend the employees' salaries, essentially our money, however they like.
Ever since the business started going downhill, the vice president and the manager have become harsher. They used to be different, but now they snap over the smallest things. Just between us, everyone's saying it's better to leave such a company. That's rough.
Their conversation seemed like it could go on forever. I settled the bill with the boys and decided to head back to the funeral before my husband. Exiting the grocery store, I saw two of them still deep in conversation inside. My husband finally returned just before the funeral service was about to begin. I was worried you wouldn't make it in time.
Sorry, there was a lot to catch up on. Listen, Tiffany, there's something I want to talk to you about.
Just as he was about to start, the funeral began. It wasn't the right time for a heart-to-heart. He whispered,
"Later,"
with a look of determination. The service went by without a hitch. The empty feeling that follows a funeral never gets easier, no matter how many times you go through it. The boys seemed just as melancholic, sticking close by me, not wanting to stray.
Tiffany, what about what I was trying to say earlier?
Oh yeah, what about that?
I'm thinking of hiring more employees.
Really? That's great. Means the business is doing well.
Yeah, so I'm considering moving to a bigger office. I'll be buying more equipment too, which might mean my income will temporarily decrease.
Are you planning to expand that quickly? Isn't it a bit too rushed? Even if you hire more staff, it takes more time to learn the ropes. Seems a bit reckless to me. It was an unusually assertive move for my husband. He's usually far from reckless. What's gotten into him?
No need for training. In fact, I'll be the one learning from them.
What?
Remember the person I was talking to at the grocery store? They're going to transfer to our company. And while we were talking, some other employees joined in. 5 of them are coming to work with us,
he said excitedly. No way.
It's true. Look over there.
He pointed, and there were Kimmy and Donna, chatting with a group of 5. Kimmy stood with her mouth hanging open, looking dumbfounded. Donna had twisted her face into something devilish. I whispered to my husband, "Are they discussing the same thing over there?"
Yeah. Said she'd yell and wouldn't have a proper conversation in public, so they'd talk right after the funeral.
Wow. I looked again at the group. Sure enough, they were familiar faces. The ones who had recreated the dance perfectly, unforgettable. They were going to join my husband's company, the main force behind his family's business. The stability would be on a whole new level. Unconsciously, a smile crept on my face. Donna, eagle-eyed, caught my loosened expression and glared at me with the eyes of a murderer. What's so funny, you thief? Taking our brother away from us? And now our employees too? What grudge do you have against us to do this, you devil? I couldn't comprehend why Donna screamed that. As my eyes widened, Kimmy's face lit up. Oh my, it's you again. Of course, it has to be you. Otherwise, why would these people say they're leaving our company? You must have said something to them. We'll sue for damages. What? I don't recall doing any such thing. Stunned, my husband spoke up on my behalf to Kimmy and her cohorts.
Mom, Donna, enough is enough. Tiffany has nothing to do with this. Those 5 left the company because their salaries were cut due to poor management.
What are you talking about? Suggesting poor management? How rude.
We're discussing why everyone is resigning. It's partly because of the terrible way Mom and Donna treat their employees. They fly off the handle based on their mood. It's impossible to have a conversation. And I've heard they threaten pay cuts if anyone disagrees with them.
What? We've never done that. There were still relatives and neighbors at the funeral. Kimmy panicked at the mention of poor management and intimidation. But panicking now was useless, because it was the truth.
I heard they were planning to leave, so I asked if they'd join my company. I couldn't stand to leave Grandpa and Dad's cherished employees in such a terrible workplace. The job offers at my place were all my idea. Tiffany wasn't involved.
That's impossible. It's definitely her fault. That woman is to blame.
Stop making her out to be the villain. Deep down, you know the truth. The villains are Mom and Donna.
As my husband said this, Donna jumped up in frustration. Kimmy collapsed to her knees. It seemed that her hopes of extorting money from me had been dashed. Kimmy, unable to give up, resorted to a tearful plea. You ingrate! You don't care if Grandpa's company goes under. Don't you feel sorry for Mom? But my husband stated firmly, I'm sure Grandpa would hate to see his employees crushed more than the company failing. Dad would feel the same. The determined look he had before the funeral began was a sign of his resolve to protect the employees, even if it meant ruining the family business. People who were talking with Kimmy and Donna came over to my husband. They lined up behind him, straightening their spines and looking squarely at Kimmy and Donna. Their glazes were filled with determination. It was heartening, and I felt a sense of responsibility. For these people and for my grandfather-in-law and father-in-law, I was determined to support the company until it was back on track. That's what I decided in my heart. Afterwards, my husband's income took a hit. It was inevitable after suddenly adding 5 people. But these weren't novices. They were seasoned veterans, reliable and battle-hardened. With these immediate assets, my husband's company grew rapidly. 6 months after hiring the 5, my husband's income was back. And hearing the rumors, employees and former employees of my husband's family's business began to flock to him. Now my husband's company boasts 3 stores. On the other hand, his family's business closed down. Kim and Donna just didn't have the knack for management. They took their seats for granted, never bothered to learn, and were quite reckless with money. When my husband, who had been their restraint, left the company, the management quickly deteriorated. 3 years after his departure, the business was beyond saving. The resignation of a key employee dealt the final blow, and the business was driven to closure. There was significant debt, but that was somehow managed by selling off the family company building and assets. Kimmy and Donna now rent a small apartment together and make ends meet with part-time jobs. It seems they finally realized that a paycheck isn't something that comes from owning a company. My husband's company is planning to open its 4th store. He's expanding the business smoothly. It seems that the sense for business that Kimmy and Donna lacked, my husband had all along. When I mentioned this, he humbly said, It's not me. It's all thanks to the employees. I reflected on that. I almost forgot what's truly important. Speaking of reflection, I still regret exposing our sons to that ugly scene at the funeral. However, they remember their father's impressive demeanor more than the petty adult quarrels. They hope to work with Dad in the future. If that's what my children desire of their own volition, I want to support them. I'd be happy if the company my husband started continues to thrive through the 2nd and 3rd generations. Can I help out Dad's company during spring break? Sure, after you start high school. My husband smiled with a mix of joy and embarrassment.
Fran is my name. I've been married for a little over a year. I have been working hard to win the approval of my mother-in-law, but it appears that everything was for naught. The reason for this is straightforward. Because my mother-in-law approached me and said something like this. I'm giving you back. What? Return? Needless to say, I was taken aback. But it didn't matter how hard I tried. My mother-in-law drove me to my parents' house. My parents live near my in-laws. By car, it is only a few minutes away. My mother-in-law shouted loudly out the door when we arrived at my parents' house. Hey, come on out! Inside the house, there was a thumping sound. My father came out right away. Oh, can I assist you? I'm sorry, but I have to speak with you. A talk? Let's hear it inside. Come on in. My father responded with a smile. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, shook her head. We can talk here. We're only here to give your useless daughter back. Useless daughter? My father's expression shifts. My father's gaze, clearly upset, shifts to my mother-in-law. What do you mean useless? I mean exactly what I said. Isn't that right? My mother-in-law expects my father-in-law to agree. Don't you understand unless I tell you? A wife with a monthly salary of only $500? A faulty product. Defective. Defective? My father's face looks like that of a demon. I was afraid my father would go insane, but there was nothing I could do. My mother-in-law, oblivious to my father's rage, continued to speak ill of me as if nothing was wrong. You know what? She can't do a thing around the house, and you don't make much money. And you want to return her? My father inquired of my mother-in-law. When my mother noticed the commotion, she came out of the house. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, didn't look at my mother. That's what I said, she said to my father. I'm returning such a wife, so the parents should accept responsibility. I see. I understand what you mean. My father, on the other hand, took one look at my mother. Then we both nodded and said to my in-laws, well then, there's nothing we can do. Let us take responsibility and close the company. Yes, you need to accept responsibility. And close the company? What? You're going to close the business? My mother-in-law was taken aback. Wait, what company are you referring to? My father-in-law said, a little upset. You're asking us to take responsibility. It's company. What else could it be? My father states flatly. I couldn't help but sigh when I saw my father in that state. He is furious. What should I do? I couldn't stop him when he became like this. My father, when serious, would always follow through on his promises, no matter how difficult the task. He would make whatever he said come true, particularly when it comes to me, because he adores me so much. Why is my father so devoted to me? It has something to do with my childhood. From a young age, I was extremely frail. If something bad happened to me, I'd get a fever and go to bed right away. Every few weeks, I'd get a fever. I stayed in bed for a week after falling ill. That is why I couldn't attend elementary school much, and rarely played with my friends. My mother would, of course, stay with me if I fell ill. And because he was worried about me, my father was unable to complete any work, which was a common occurrence in our family. Perhaps he loved me even more than usual because I was so frail. In any case, both of my parents adored me since I was a child. Being physically weak wasn't all bad either. My parents provided me with many things to keep me occupied while I was bedridden. They bought me books, video games, and a variety of other items. My older brother was extremely jealous of me. I was the only one who could be bought so many things. Among them, I was particularly fond of my laptop. It was my father's, which he used for work. Because it was my father's second-hand laptop, it might not be enough for a normal person to use. However, as an elementary school student, it was enough. I was able to draw pictures and play games. I could use it to connect to the internet and see what was going on in the world. I spent most of my time in bed, so the computer was a whole new world to me. There's a world here that I had no idea existed. Perhaps I can make my own world here. It's a good memory that I had as a child. That is how I became interested in computers. It started with children's drawings, but I eventually moved on to the computer graphics. Fascinated by the world of 3D, I began to study illustration and computer graphics. That's how I ended up becoming a graphic designer. Even though I'm weak, I can handle this. With this in mind, after graduating from high school, I began working as a graphic designer at home. However, I encountered numerous difficulties in the beginning. I was self-taught and I lacked any specialized knowledge. Furthermore, I had no idea how to find work. My body isn't in good enough shape to go to work, so I'll just have to make do. It is difficult for me to commute to work. I could work remotely, but I wouldn't be able to work every day like a regular person. In other words, the only way for me to work at my own pace is to take on work on my own and complete it. It's a lot of work, but if this works out, I'll be able to support myself. I spent many days on the internet, researching, piling hard work on top of hard work, but I persisted and more people would begin to recognize me. The same people approached me again or introduced me to new clients. My work gradually began to take on the characteristics of a job. In the meantime, 5 years had passed. When my work became popular, I breathed a sigh of relief. My father approached me with this proposal at that point. Do you want to make a commercial for a construction company? It was an unexpected request. My father owns and operates a local construction company. He used to build houses on contract, but now, remodeling houses is his main source of income. There were only 3 employees, my father, mother, and brother, but it was a well-known construction company in the neighborhood. Are you sure you want me to do this? If it were a job, I'd be paid, right? I didn't request it because you're my daughter. I'm asking because I believe you have good advertising taste. I thank my father for his words of wisdom. I was pleased to be recognized as having good taste, but more than anything, I felt accepted. My design was later used as an insert ad in the newspaper. I also made a website for the construction company and posted the ad on it. Of course, because we were a local company, We are not well known on a national scale. Locals would approach me and say, "I saw your ad," and some would even say, "It's good." I couldn't stop smiling because such voices made me so happy. At the same time, my ad was turned into a poster. The posters were displayed at the company's entrance and on bulletin boards maintained by the local community association. I can stand on my own feet. I can live independently. I was overjoyed to have such a sense of accomplishment. Meanwhile, my posters were becoming the talk of the town. The daughter of the construction company is a designer. She also creates advertisements for the building company. Such rumors began to circulate in the community. As a result, the locals began to approach me for assistance. Then someone came to see me one day. It was an electrician from the town. "Your daughter is a designer. Can you create our advertisements?" "I'll ask Fran about it," my father said lightheartedly. Actually, the electrician in town is one of our clients. Although it is called a town electrician, in reality, it is an electrical construction company. For example, they install air conditioners, fiber optic lines, and electrical wiring. So when electrical work is needed for remodeling, we ask the town electrician to do it. "So Fran, can you do it for me?" "I understand. They are an important business partner." I accepted the offer. Sometime later, I asked my father to deliver the finished advertisement. It turned out to be even better than I had expected, and the electrician in town was quite pleased. In addition to the commission, he even came to our house to thank me with a gift wrapped in a sweet envelope. He said, "I just wanted to thank you for the wonderful job you did." But it was a young man who bowed in gratitude. He was not the electrician I knew. "Well, who are you?" "Oh, my name is Clark. My father is the electrician." It was Clark, the electrician's son, who came to greet me. He is a college graduate and is currently helping out as an electrician. "So, you will eventually become an electrician?" When I asked, Clark replied, "Eventually, I plan to take over the business." "Then, we might be friends for a long time." "Yes, I would like that as well, especially with an attractive person like you." "What? Me?" I was surprised. I had not been able to attend school much and never had been in a relationship. Could it be that I was being seduced? My face suddenly lit up when I thought that. I turned bright red and slumped down like a child. In the end, we only exchanged contact information that day. But it wasn't business contact information that we exchanged. It was our personal details. I had never done anything like this before. I was so nervous that I couldn't sleep that day. After that, Clark and I kept in touch with each other in between work. We would tell each other about the day's events and talk about hobbies, favorite things, etc. It became a daily routine. And we eventually started dating. However, we could not do any of the things that normal lovers do. First of all, I was too frail to travel far on dates. We could only go out together to a neighborhood park when I was feeling well. We were never able to go to a normal date like watching a movie. Another major reason was that our days off did not match. Because I was taking on work privately, I was able to take time off freely. But that is not the case with Clark. Even on days off, he often received urgent requests to repair household appliances. Moreover, as it approached summer and winter, it was not unusual for him to have to install air conditioners every day. Anyway, I couldn't do anything that was typical of a normal lover. But that didn't cause me any trouble. We could always keep in touch with each other on our phones. We could exchange words and send messages. I was always in bed with a fever, so that was nothing to me. We grew our love in this way and got married a few years later. I was to go to Clark's house. Naturally, Clark's parents knew me well. So my mother-in-law told me this. "Just take care of the housework as long as it's not too much for you." I understand. My father-in-law was also kind to me. "When you have time, will you make the traditional pop-ups for me?" "I'll take care of it. I'll leave it to you, thank you." I thought I was getting along with my in-laws because of this, but that was only in the beginning. Gradually, my mother-in-law began to ask me to take care of various things. "I'm going to be out of town for a while, so can you watch the store for me?" "Sure, but I'm working too." "Just stay at the counter. You can work there too, right? If you don't mind if I bring my laptop, I'll take care of it." "I don't mind at all." In this way, my mother-in-law began to ask me to watch the store more and more often. My stepfather also started asking me for favors like this. "Could you make a website for the store?" "What? I'm not an expert. Just something simple, okay? Please." Creating a website is not my specialty, but my father-in-law pushed me into creating a website for the electronics company. After that, my in-laws would ask me to do something for them at every opportunity. One after another, they would ask me to do this, that, and the other. Eventually, my mother-in-law said to me, "I'm sorry, but could you do the cleaning for me?" "What? I have work to do too." "What are you talking about? You're the wife. Can't you at least do that?" Yes. In the end, I was forced to do the cleaning. Once I took on the job, there was no backing down. After cleaning, there was cooking, then laundry, and gradually, the amount of housework increased. I was also made to take care of the store. I can't do my own work. I had no choice but to cut back on my work as a graphic designer. Naturally, my income decreased. But I am already married and Clark is paying for my living expenses. So I was not that worried. But that is not the problem. I think I have a fever today. I was so tired that I finally caught a fever. I told my mother-in-law, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to rest for a while. When I told her, she wasn't happy. She said, I can't believe you'd get a fever over something like that. But, she said, oh yes, I understand. Just go back to bed. My mother-in-law said casually and quickly left the room. I might have offended her. I regretted it, but it's true that my body doesn't listen to me, so there is nothing I can do about it. I lay down on the bed. After a while, Clark came in and asked, Are you okay? I said, Yes, I'm sorry. Don't be too hard on yourself. I know, but your parents. I told Clark that I had no choice because my in-laws had forced me to do the chores. Then Clark looked at me suspiciously and said, Why don't you just say no? But what are you talking about? You're an adult. You should at least express your opinion. Clark did not understand anything. If this was a proper job, I would definitely say no. But the other party is my in-laws. If I rejected my mother-in-law, it might cause problems later on. It was the same with my father-in-law. If I complain and my father-in-law hates me, he might say, get a divorce. I know it's probably just me thinking too much, but I can't help but think about it. This is why I could not disobey my in-laws. Aside from that, I was sad that Clark didn't understand me. I can't believe he doesn't understand me either. I am all alone in my in-laws' house. Thinking of that, I started crying tears. However, this kind of thing is quite common. I mustn't lose. I steeled myself. After that, when the fever resided, my mother-in-law again asked me to run errands for her. I reduced my own workload and complied with her request as much as I could. In this way, I tried to gain the favor of my parents-in-law. One day, after all this had happened, my mother-in-law suddenly asked me something like this. Fran, how is your work going? Well, I'm continuing little by little, yes. How much money do you earn now? Huh? That's none of your mother-in-law's business, is it? It does matter. Prices have been going up lately, and if you could just give me some money for living expenses. She was grinning. As far as I can see, the electrician's business has not gone away. Rather, as prices have risen, more and more people are looking for energy-efficient home appliances. Thanks to this, the job, such as air conditioner installing, is even increasing. We are sometimes asked by the major electronics retailers to provide support, and if anything, her income should be increasing. That is what I thought. However, my mother-in-law hinted that she did not have enough money to make ends meet. Feeling a little strange, I told her a smaller amount. My income is also tight. I also have housework, so right now my monthly income is about $500. What? $500? Yes. $500 a month is not so bad if you think of it as a part-time job, I thought. My mother-in-law suddenly turned red and said, Only $500? And you don't even do much housework. I think I do a fair amount of housework. That's not true. I do all the cooking and cleaning these days. I even take care of the store and do the laundry when my mother-in-law is not around. As I was thinking about this, my mother-in-law said to me, Wait a minute, I'll go talk to your father, and ran to my father-in-law. A few minutes later, my mother-in-law came back with my father-in-law and said to me, Come with me. I said, What? Where? Your parents' house. My house? I'm returning you. That's what my mother-in-law said. After that, I was forcibly taken to my parents' house, where I was told in front of my father that I would be returned. In response, my father just now said, I'm going to close my own company. As I was dreading what to do, my mother-in-law smiled and said, You want to close your company? Do you mean your construction company? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, there is no other company for me. My father responded with a thin smile. Then my father-in-law sighed and said, You're going to destroy the construction company and eliminate our electrician's business, aren't you? If that's the case, what then? I'm sorry, but we have other clients besides you. There are tons of electrician jobs out there. Then it's okay for me to take responsibility for my daughter and shut down my own construction company, isn't it? Suit yourself. It's no use trying to coerce me into collapsing together. In the end, my father-in-law yelled and left. My mother-in-law also told me, You useless wife, you don't have to come back. I was left in a daze. Is everything alright, Fran? What should I do, Dad? He said so many hurtful things. Wouldn't it be better to get a divorce? Yeah, I guess so. However, Clark might come for me. The most important thing is for Clark to love me, even if my in-laws don't. That's what I thought. However, Clark did not come for me, no matter how long it took. After a few days passed, I finally received a message from Clark with only one word, let's get divorced. I wasn't convinced. I kept sending messages to Clark, but he never responded. Clark's lawyer called me. I heard that Clark's parents have persuaded him to divorce you. I could not say anything. I agreed to the divorce. I accepted the alimony and other conditions that Clark offered. Thus, my marriage, which lasted less than a year, came to an end. At the same time, my father's construction company also closed its doors. However, it did not stop completely. In fact, my brother took over my father's construction company. The location and name of the construction company are the same. The only difference is that he has cut ties with Clark's family business. Naturally, this hit Clark's family business hard. Still, Clark's family has other clients, so they seem to be managing somehow. However, they did not seem to be safe. Especially, returning me became a big rumor among the town. Gradually, Clark's family began to be avoided, and more requests were made to the electrician's company that my brother had partnered with. This continued, and finally it was rumored that the business was going under. My father said, "This will teach him a lesson." That was what my father said, and my mother and I thought so too. But one day, the wind suddenly changed. It was the summer of the following year. I was in the office of my brother's construction company when we received this phone call. "Excuse me, the air conditioner seems to have broken down." It was from someone whose house my brother had remodeled. When my brother went to check on him, he found that the outdoor unit of the air conditioner had been broken. That's terrible, even for a prank. He consulted with the family and immediately reported to the police. The brother then contacted his electrician partner and had the air conditioner replaced. But if this had been the only case, the police might have been able to deal with it as a prank. But the same thing happened again and again. When this happened, as expected, my brother's construction company alone could not handle the situation. The story goes that the affected people reluctantly asked Clark's family to help. Then my ex-father-in-law grinned and said, "We are receiving more and more similar requests, and the fee will be charged at a premium. Is that okay with you?" He said that the number of people in need was increasing. It was unacceptable to charge more for repairs just because the number of people in need was increasing. I was furious, but it had nothing to do with me. There was nothing I could do. I just had to give up. But my brother was different. "I'll find the culprit," he said, and asked for the cooperation of several of his clients. I wondered what he was going to do, but what he did was very simple. He lent them an intercom for free. "Why an intercom?" I asked. He said, "Intercoms nowadays have a video recording function. Some have sensors, so they can be used in place of security cameras. I don't think it will be that easy." I was skeptical, but within 3 days, the culprits were caught. Moreover, it was Clark's parents who were caught. They said that in the middle of the night, his parents broke into the house and went around destroying the air conditioners. They were making their own work for themselves because they lost clients. When questioned by the police, they confessed to such selfish motives. When I heard this, I was reminded of the term mutual collapse. If my father quit the construction business, Clark's business would be in jeopardy. Perhaps my ex-father-in-law knew this and used the word mutual collapse. At any rate, the arrest of his parents-in-law triggered the collapse of Clark's family's electronics shop. Apparently, Clark then started working at a demolition job site to pay for the damage. One of the electricians who worked at my brother's construction company told me that he saw him there. But I don't care. I sympathize with him, but I don't want to get involved anymore. Besides, I am happy now. I work as a graphic designer and also look after the store at my brother's construction company. I can work at my own pace, and best of all, I don't have nagging in-laws. There is one problem though. My father is retired. He asks me, "Are you tired? Are you okay?" He's always around talking to me. "If you're so bored, why don't you get a job too? I think it's cooler to have a working dad." As soon as I said that, my father started working again at my brother's construction company. It seems that my father loves me after all, but I love my father too, so we are even.
Why don't you use your family's apartment as collateral? That's probably the only way you're of any use. If you can't do that, maybe we should divorce, huh? Is this man laughing in front of me really my husband? He's planning a hostile takeover of a company and is after my family's assets. And now this? Even as anger blurred my vision, I replied coolly, "Sure, but you might regret it." Regret? I doubt it. My husband continued to mock me. I'm going to show him he's wrong. I clenched my fist. My name is Layla. I'm a 29-year-old housewife. I used to work at Company A, but 2 years ago I married Caden, the son of the company's CEO, and a department head. Although Caden pursued me aggressively, I believe we've had a reasonably happy married life. Caden is kind to me, and our relationship is strong. A major factor in our relationship has been Jackson, my father-in-law and someone I'd consider a benefactor. My mother-in-law passed away, but Jackson, who was also the CEO of Company A, has always been kind-hearted. He treated me well, even when I was just an employee. When Caden and I decided to get married, Jackson was thrilled. Even now, he treats me like his own daughter. I respect and adore Jackson. My family and his get along wonderfully, and I think I'm in a happy environment. Layla, I'm heading out. I'll be late tonight, so no need to prepare dinner. All right, take care. Lately, Caden has been coming home late, probably because of work. Even when he's at home, he's constantly checking his mobile phone and often travels for business. As his wife, I feel I must support him wholeheartedly. Then one day, Jackson came to our house, looking deeply troubled. There's something I just found out, he began to tell us. A new venture of the company had failed, resulting in a debt of $3 million. What are we going to do, Dad? Caden, clearly distraught, said. It makes sense. Caden is supposed to take over Jackson's company in the future. A crisis at the company directly affects him. I don't want to burden the employees or you two. I'll approach the bank and our clients to see what can be done, Jackson said, with a concerned look. Jackson, it's tough, but please take care of yourself. That was all I could muster. For some time after, Jackson made efforts to secure funds. Given the times we're in, no matter how hard one tries, gathering $3 million just wasn't feasible. Jackson came to our house again, looking dejected. At this rate, Company A is done. I can't face our employees. Caden and I just listened silently. My heart ached. After Jackson left, Caden spoke. Damn, what a weak old man. I was shocked. I'd never heard Caden speak like that before, and always believed he respected Jackson's decisions. Caden, what are you saying? Layla, sit. I have a proposition. He pointed to the dining table. I took a seat, puzzled by this side of Caden. Caden, what's going on? What proposition? Listen, here's the situation. Caden began, clearly annoyed. Dad's company has a debt of $3 million. He failed to raise the money, so Company A is on the brink of bankruptcy. Right? So, I'll clear the debt, and then, under the guise of making him take responsibility for the debt, I'll take over. I'll become the CEO of Company A. I was stunned by Caden's audacious plan. You want to overthrow Jackson? Become CEO now? What are you talking about, Caden? It's not a bad plan, right? If Dad can't manage it, I will. You'd want to be a CEO's wife, wouldn't you? I can't keep up. And how will you clear the debt? We don't have that kind of money. Your family owns condos and apartments. We'll transfer them to my name and use them as collateral. My heart nearly stopped. Indeed, my family is well off. Just as Caden mentioned, they own condos and apartments. The apartment we live in now, even if it's under Caden's name, originally belonged to my family. It was a wedding gift, and they even provided the funds for it. But once you're married, it's a separate household. I've never asked my parents for money, and I never intended to rely on them. So you want to use my family's assets as collateral to take over the company? What will you do if the company goes under? Do you want to end up on the streets? So you want me to use my family's assets for you to become CEO? It's the best way for the company. Think about it. With that, Caden went to bed. I couldn't sleep at all. I was disturbed by this sudden change in Caden, who had always been so loving and considerate. I stayed awake all night and greeted the morning. Caden had a business trip that day. I couldn't shake off my uneasy feelings after sending him off. What's happening at Company A right now? Why did Caden change so suddenly? I felt compelled to see for myself, so I headed to the company. I used to work there, and as the CEO's daughter-in-law and department's head wife, I often visited for company events and brought gifts. No one would suspect my visit. I prepared some snacks and went to Company A after a long time. There, I saw a familiar face. Oh, Layla! It's been a while! It was my former colleague, Monica. Monica and I started at the company at the same time and have always been close. We share a bond so deep that calling her my best friend wouldn't be an exaggeration. Monica! Long time no see. I brought some snacks for everyone. Layla, honestly, maybe you shouldn't. Monica said, looking uncomfortable. Something was going on. I told Monica, I'd like to chat for a bit. Do you have some time? Yes, I've been wanting to talk too. I'm leaving early today. Let's talk. We ended up talking at a nearby cafe. It's been quite a while since we talked like this. Monica seemed distant. I got straight to the point. Monica, can you tell me about the current situation at the company and about Caden's behavior there? I'm really lost. I explained my situation to Monica. After hearing me out, Monica said with a bitter expression, "So, the department head, Caden, is doing that to you. I'll tell you everything about the company and him. Please, tell me everything. First, everyone knows the company's in a tough spot, but everyone respects the CEO. We know he's doing his best for us, and we're trying to support him. Jackson has always treated his employees like family. That's why, despite the challenges, Company A's employees stand by him. Yes, he's a wonderful man. But the real problem is your husband, Caden," Monica said, looking resolute. I braced myself for what was coming. What's Caden like at the company? His attitude started changing when rumors about the company's problems began. He went from being a pleasant boss to becoming increasingly abrasive. Now he has a bad reputation. In what way? He's rough with subordinates, excessively harsh, and uses strong language. He even tells other managers things like, "You dare talk to the next CEO like that?" Many at the company are unhappy. I can't believe this. And given he's the presumed next CEO, nobody can challenge him. Honestly, there are people considering leaving if he takes over. I was devastated. Company A had always been a friendly place with a strong sense of community. I knew it because I had worked there. And now Caden was ruining it all. There's more. It's really hard for me to say this, Layla. I urged Monica. At this point, just tell me everything. What I heard next was shocking. A few days passed after that. After Caden returned from his trip, he once again summoned me for a talk. "Hey, Layla, are you ready?" "Ready for what?" "What? I mentioned it before. The property your family owns." "You're serious about this? You really want me to put up my family's assets?" "How many times do I have to say it? I need it for when I become the CEO. Haha." He laughed arrogantly and continued. "So just get your family's apartment as collateral, okay? That's the only useful thing you can do. If you can't, then it's divorce." He then slammed a filled-out divorce application on the table. Looking at him laughing, I wondered, is this really the same kind-hearted man I married? After seeing his plans for the company, his greed for my family's wealth, and now this? With rising anger, I calmly responded, "If that's how you feel, be prepared for the consequences." "What? I won't regret it." His attitude was still mocking. "Think about it. You think you can divorce me? Remember, this house is in my name." I see. I was determined to show him. I clenched my fist. And after Caden fell asleep, I collected the divorce papers from the table, locked myself in a room, and packed. I left the house before he woke up. Days passed and I ignored his calls. 2 weeks later, when I visited our former home, I saw movers taking out our belongings. Watching them, Caden noticed me and grabbed my arm. "Hey, Layla, where have you been? You left without a word. Let go of me. What's happening here?" "Oh, I'm mortgaging this house since you didn't move on the apartment matter." He mortgaged our house? The one my parents helped pay for? Looking at Caden, his eyes were bloodshot, and he had a sinister look. "With this, I'll have some funds. It won't be the full $3 million, but with your family's apartment and this, I can cover the company's debts and become the CEO. You'll be the CEO's wife. We might have to live in an old apartment for a while, though." I interrupted him. "Interesting. But since I've already submitted the divorce papers, it's no longer my concern." "What?" Caden was stunned. "That day, you said if I didn't put up my family's property, we'd divorce. I took your offer and filed for divorce." Yes, I had filled out my part of the divorce application and submitted it right after our conversation. Caden's face turned beet red. "What are you talking about? Without even telling me? How do you expect to survive? You've only ever worked at my company." Caden raged on. Then a calm voice cut through the air. "My company? What do you mean by that, Caden?" It was Jackson. Dad? Step away from Layla. We have things to discuss. Thus began a three-way conversation between Jackson, Caden, and myself. What's going on? Why is Dad here? Caden exclaimed. It's simple. What the hell are you thinking, Caden? Jackson's voice was stern. I've heard everything from Layla and the employees. Everything? What do you mean? About how you've been trying to take over the company. How you threatened Layla with divorce to leverage her family's assets. And how you've been throwing your weight around at the company, boasting about being the next CEO. I know it all. Caden's eyes widened in shock, and he started to sweat. However, he retorted defiantly. So what? You think you can pay off a $3 million debt, Dad? I can. You should step down from your position and let me handle it. You've already divorced Layla, right? How do you plan to pay off the debt without her help? Well... And you don't have to worry about the debt anymore. It's taken care of. What? Where did you get that kind of money? Yes, Layla, using the properties her parents felt were superfluous, helped me directly by putting them up as collateral. Jackson responded. Just as Jackson said, I chimed in. That's right. I had no intention of handing over my family's assets because you threatened me, Caden. But I was more than happy to help Jackson, who has always been kind to me. Hearing this, Caden nearly exploded. Layla, why would you help Dad and not me, your husband? You're no longer my husband. Sorry your takeover plan didn't work out. How dare you? Caden, enough! Jackson shouted. Caden, in his rage, tried to grab me, but Jackson intervened. Silently, I spread out numerous photos on the table. What's this? Oh. Seeing the pictures, Caden's face, which had been red with anger, turned pale. The photos were evidence of Caden's infidelity. Caden, you've been cheating with a young woman from the company, haven't you? That's why you've been coming home late. It's not what you think, Caden stammered. When I hired a private investigator, there was more than enough evidence. You even brought her along on your business trips, right? You've been dating and even traveling together. It seems like you brought her into our house while I was away too. It's all in the report. That's not true. It's a misunderstanding. Jackson chimed in. Caden, you need to face reality. Your mistress has been bragging about how once the company's debt is paid off by your current wife, she would become the CEO's wife. That's not true. Watching Caden's spirit slowly drain away, I said, you threatened to use my family's assets for your own desires and even cheated on me. There's no way I could continue with someone like that. I'll be seeking damages for your infidelity. Adding to that, Jackson continued, considering your attitude at the company and the fact that you've been inappropriate with employees, I've decided we can't keep you in the company. You're being terminated. Dad, Layla, this can't be true. Wait. Caden, who had been scheming to take over the company, now faced both termination and divorce. He sat, a mere shell of his former self. Jackson and I silently left the scene. Eventually, Caden was officially terminated. Without his job title and power, his mistress quickly left him. I received desperate messages from him, like, "It's a misunderstanding. Please believe me." And, "I only love you." But I ignored them all, and we successfully divorced. 3 years later, Caden, now jobless and drained of funds due to a hefty settlement from our divorce, was reportedly living in an old apartment, struggling financially. I had no interest in him anymore. He was a stranger to me. Jackson, on the other hand, successfully turned the company around in those 3 years. He repaid the loan secured against the collateral I provided, and my parents' properties were safely returned. The company is now thriving. As for me, upon Jackson's strong recommendation, I rejoined the company as an employee. Now I'm working positively every day with my dear friend Monica and other friendly colleagues. From time to time, Jackson brings up potential marriage suitors. After my previous marriage experience, I wasn't particularly excited. However, Jackson would often say, "I really want you to find happiness, Layla. I hope you start a new chapter in your life." Perhaps he's right. With that mindset, I decided to go on a matchmaking date. Lately, there's been a hint of excitement in my heart.
Where's my daddy? I can't find him.
I noticed a little girl crying in an aisle of a department store. She was nervously clutching her skirt, looking around frantically. As I approached her, she seemed a bit scared. But when I gently smiled and asked, "What's wrong? What's your name?" she cracked a slight smile.
I'm Emma. I came here with my dad, but now I can't find him.
I took the girl to the lost and found, where a man in his 30s was speaking with an attendant.
Oh, Daddy!
Her father rushes up and hugs her tightly. "Emma, you can't wander off like that. I was worried." Then the father apologized to me, and in the flow of the moment, invited me for a coffee as a thank you. I wasn't overly enthusiastic about the coffee invite, but seeing the little girl's twinkling eyes as she looked up at me made me smile without thinking. This encounter was the beginning of everything for me. My name is Olivia, and I'm 47 years old. I work at a regular company. I married my husband Liam 20 years ago, and he had been married before. He had a 7-year-old daughter at the time named Emma. His previous wife fell seriously ill shortly after giving birth and passed away. Initially, my parents frowned upon the idea of me marrying an older man with a child, but eventually they came around and accepted our union. A kind-hearted Liam and his adorable Emma. I felt happy every single day after our marriage. However, that happiness didn't last forever. Liam, who had been so kind while we were dating, changed. I can't quite remember what triggered the shift. I think it was around the time I suggested adopting Emma, but it didn't seem like that was the cause. By the way, Liam rejected the idea outright, saying, "We don't need to adopt. It's a hassle." 3 years into our marriage, he started treating me like nothing more than a housekeeper. "Is dinner ready? Make sure it's on the table when I get home." Or, "You call this clean? Do it again." He would command, not just about household chores and cooking, but even trivial things like setting his alarm clock. Moreover, Liam barely contributed to the household expenses. He was a big drinker, coming home every evening after hitting the bars. The scent of cologne wafting from his suit made it clear that he wasn't just at any ordinary bar. As a result, I ended up covering most of our living costs. I work too, you know. Take care of yourself. Besides, you're not providing enough for the household. Think about Emma more, for goodness sake. Unable to hold back my anger, I confront him, but he snaps. "Shut up. I only married you to have a housekeeper." He throws things and spews abusive language. If this is how Liam really feels, it's beyond cruel. Suddenly, I recall the hesitance in my parents' faces when we got married. Because of that, I couldn't bring myself to consult with them. Then one day, "You're such a useless housekeeper." As always, Liam scolds me for no good reason. Then,
"Stop being so mean to Mama."
Emma stands up for me. Seeing her tiny, trembling body, I hold her close. Perhaps even Liam felt ashamed to continue his tirade in front of her. He leaves the room, defeated. The only saving grace is that he never does anything to Emma. Even Liam must find her adorable. When Liam leaves, Emma gently pats my head.
There. That wasn't scary, was it?
The only one who was scared was likely her, not me.
Don't worry, Mama. I'll protect you.
I can't help but shed tears at her words. Emma is now my only salvation. I feel pathetic for being so fearful. I have to be stronger for Emma's sake. That day, I made a strong resolution. Time flies, and it's the present. Emma, who was once 7, is now 27. I can't help but feel the weight of the years that have passed. After graduating from college, she got a job at a major company, but chose to continue living at home out of concern for me. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm fine. Living on your own will probably be better for you in the long run, Emma. I say this, but Emma is adamant about staying home.
After some thought, I decide to teach her household chores and accept some money from her for living expenses each month. It's important for her to learn domestic and financial skills. Liam is still the same, out drinking all the time. And of course, his tirades and verbal abuse toward me continue. Liam throws things, but never aims them at me, and he doesn't get physically violent. I think he wants to avoid being labeled as abusive. Though Liam does care for our daughter, he doesn't seem to like it when she stands up for me. The level of his verbal abuse has escalated over the years. I still get hurt by it, but I've grown more accustomed and have learned some skills to manage Liam somewhat. One day, Emma says, "I have someone I want you to meet," and brings her boyfriend. He's already proposed, so this is basically a family meeting. The man, William, works at a regular company. He made a great impression with his calm demeanor and kind smile. "You could have found someone who earns more, with your qualities." At Liam's comment, Emma cringes, and I'm about to reprimand him when William says, "You're absolutely right. Emma is beautiful and successful, too good for someone like me. But that's exactly why I feel like the luckiest man in the world for her to accept my proposal." I was truly impressed by how William responds, without a hint of displeasure, just a smile. Oh, the look on Emma's face at that moment. She was beaming like the heroine in a romantic comic. I'm certain that William will make her happy. Unlike my dad, he doesn't use harsh words or do anything people dislike. He's a wonderful man. Liam has no comeback for Emma's statement. I can't help but chuckle, and Liam shoots me a sidelong glare. Everything goes smoothly, and Emma and William eventually get married. Around the same time, they purchase a brand new single-family home. The wedding was set to take place about a year later, to coincide with the completion of their new home. The plan was to start their married life in the new home right after the wedding. Until then, Emma decided to live with William. Emma was still concerned about me, but I said, "I'm fine. Just be nice with William, okay?" This time, I'm the one giving Emma that extra nudge of support. I couldn't be happier for her happiness. Today, I even went with her to pick out her wedding dress. Just seeing how lovey-dovey she and William are, and how beautiful she looks in her dress, makes all past struggles seem to vanish. I got home in high spirits and was about to start preparing dinner when Liam stops me. "We need to talk. Sit down." As I sit down like I was told, I notice the divorce papers on the table. Liam has already filled out his part. He grins in a spiteful manner. "Emma is getting married and leaving. You've served your purpose, so it's time for a divorce. You've been a housekeeper in everything but name for so long, even though we're basically strangers. Now it's your turn to fill these out." I sigh. Ever since he first belittled me as a mere housekeeper, I've been under Liam's thumb. In the early days, I questioned if marrying him was a mistake, but I have no regrets, because I got to meet Emma. Could we at least wait until Emma's wedding is over? I don't really care about separating from Liam, but I want to see Emma's wedding through. "No way. I won't allow you at the wedding. You're a stranger to me after all." Liam's icy words just made me laugh weakly. "Fine, we'll divorce, but you will regret this." Thinking my words were a poor loser's excuse, Liam snorts. "Regret? From a housekeeper? Just get out." Fine, I was going to leave anyway. That very day, I pack up the bare essentials and head back to my parents' home in the next town. It's been a while since I've seen my parents. They're surprised to see me, but without a word, they fill in the guarantor section of the divorce papers. When I tell them about how life has been, they're angry at Liam, but they also scold me for not consulting with them about anything. Despite their stern expressions, tears glisten in their eyes. "You've done well," they say, embracing me as we all shed tears together. The next day, I go to the city office to submit the divorce papers. Thoughts of Emma fill my mind. I feel guilty for leaving without telling her about the divorce, but I didn't want to be a roadblock to her happiness. This is for the best, It can't be helped. I mutter as if trying to convince myself. As I return from the city office and open the front door, I find Emma standing there like a guardian statue. Instinctively, I slam the door shut. Wait, what? Why is Emma here? Is this my parents' house? Maybe I'm hallucinating from thinking too much about Emma. Mom, why did you shut the door? I hear the sounds of Emma pounding on the door, clearly angry from the other side. So it wasn't my imagination. Nervously, I open the door and Emma rushes in. Her now grown body envelops me in a hug. She used to be so small. As I'm lost in thought, our eyes meet. Her eyes are red and bloodshot. Is it true you're getting divorced? You're not coming to the ceremony? Why did you leave without saying anything, huh? Though she's grown up, the way she interrogates me with tears in her eyes is just like the child I first met. Seeing my confusion, my parents and William appear from behind me. According to Mom, Emma arrived while I was at the city office.
Emma, Olivia is worried. Let's go inside for now, okay?
Once inside, Emma wipes her eyes and blows her nose with a tissue. How did you know I was getting divorced? Did you hear it from your dad? As I ask, Emma nods, sniffling. Yes, it's unbelievable. After all the hardship he's put you through, I'm ashamed that he's my father. According to Emma, that same night I left, he called her. Boastfully, he told her,
I finally divorced that housekeeper.
Moreover, Liam already has someone he plans to remarry, and he intends to bring her to Emma's wedding. Given that the divorce was already an unexpected and sudden event for Emma, it's understandable if she's upset. While I'm baffled by Liam's actions, Emma speaks up through her tears. Even if we're not related by blood, and even if you're divorced, you're still my mom. I want you at the ceremony as my mother, no matter what. Emma makes her plea, tears streaming down her face again. Next to us, William nods and says,
My parents are on board with this too. Can't you consider Emma's wish?
Is this really okay? As I'm hesitating, my parents give me a nudge.
Have some confidence. Blood isn't everything,
they say. Emma, William, thank you. I tightly grasp Emma's hand tightly. About 2 months after the divorce, my phone rings. The screen displays the name of my husband, or rather, my ex-husband.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
He screams at me right off the bat. What is this about? No greetings? I respond calmly, but Liam yells and rants furiously.
You sent a certified letter to me and Ava.
Upon hearing the name Ava, I can't help but smirk. That's the name of the woman Liam plans to marry. Ah, so that's why you're calling. I see you're now free to marry the woman you're having an affair with. Congratulations. Expect a bill for emotional damages from the divorce trial. I trust you and your wife can handle that. In a calm tone, I let it all out. I can hear Liam stuttering on the other end of the line. He must be scrambling to catch up mentally. I continued speaking. I had suspected your infidelity since your attitude towards me changed, but I never thought you'd actually been cheating for over a decade. Liam frequented a local bar. Turns out, he had been having an affair with the bar owner, Ava.
After marrying you, Ava confessed that she'd liked me for years. She encouraged me to enjoy our time together while you handle the housework and child rearing. It's not my fault. You're the one who lost your allure as soon as we got married.
I sighed as I listened to Liam's angry justification. His change in behavior toward me must have started when he began his relationship with his mistress. This must be why he never approved of Emma and me adopting to begin with. Liam seemed to have some affection for Emma as his daughter. If after adopting, I said, I'm divorcing you and taking Emma, you'd be in trouble, wouldn't you? Thinking about it that way made sense to me. You claim to love Emma, but you can't even understand her feelings. You're really pathetic. Emma said she's canceling your invitation to the ceremony. You're probably going to lose her too. And of course, I would become more domesticated after marriage. Are you clueless? Just be quiet.
What are you saying? Don't make a fool of me. and there's no way Emma would sever ties with me.
In response to Liam's irrationality, I had more to say. You've been belittling me all this time, but your pride sure is intact. Who do you think you are? That's why I told you you'll regret it. Holding back all this time made my words even sharper. Well, compared to the verbal abuse I've received from Liam, it was nothing. Liam, who had never heard me raise my voice, either was taken aback or just shut up. I go on to explain Liam's infidelity. I found out about your affair 2 years ago when your mistress sent me a letter. It said, Liam has been mine for over 10 years now. You're too clueless to even notice. Maybe it's time for a divorce. That letter was sneakily tucked into your jacket when you were drunk. Bold move. But it serves as great evidence. So it actually helped me. Even after suspecting and finding out about the affair, the reason I couldn't go through with the divorce was my concern for Emma. Though Emma was already an adult, I wanted to wait until she was married and moved out. So after the divorce, I consulted with a lawyer to demand alimony from Liam and his mistress in divorce court. By the way, learning that the statute of limitations for infidelity is 3 years from when you find out made me break into a cold sweat. Also, I'll be demanding alimony for the long-term emotional abuse I've suffered from you.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Liam interrupts, visibly flustered by my continuing offensive.
Forget the affair for a second. There's no evidence of emotional abuse. You can't do that.
I chuckle, having expected Liam to say exactly that. I've kept diaries and household accounts since we got married. Everything you said and did is recorded, including the meager living expenses you gave me. I didn't say it on the phone to make sure Emma wouldn't be affected, but Emma had captured several instances of Liam throwing things at me and verbally degrading my character. With all this evidence, my lawyers gave me the green light.
Wait, I was wrong. I'll divorce Ava right away. The only family that truly matters to me is you and Emma.
I can't help but laugh out loud. It just came out naturally. So you throw away your mistress now, after finally remarrying? Emma and I don't consider you important at all. Liam was still talking, but I hung up the call and blocked his number. All that's left is to proceed with a lawyer. After this, I'm planning to consult with my lawyer again, this time about adopting Emma. A few months later, I was able to demand compensation from both Liam and his affair partner. Both of them seemed to have scrambled to gather a large sum of money, perhaps even taking on debt. I imagine they're struggling now, living in poverty and burdened by society's judgment. Especially for Liam's affair partner, who runs a snack bar, the damage must be immense. In businesses that rely on customer relations, trust is everything. Frankly, it serves them right. Today is Emma and William's wedding. As she declared, Emma didn't let Liam attend the ceremony. Whether or not I'll be able to adopt Emma is still under discussion with a lawyer. But even if it falls through, the bond between Emma and me is strong. Emma, draped in a pure white dress, is smiling happily with William.
I'm the father of the bride. Let me go.
It seemed like there was a faint sound of a commotion with security outside the venue, but it must have been my imagination. After the ceremony, Emma and Liam asked me if I wanted to move in with them in their new home, but I declined. I'll be there in a heartbeat if you two ever need help. Value your time together as a married couple, I told them. I handed over the money Emma used to give me for living expenses when she was single, along with a card gift at the party. I had been saving it secretly for a time when Emma would need it. I'm thinking of renting an apartment nearby to keep an eye on Emma and the others. Can people who don't own this place just pack up their stuff and leave? You barely make any money, yet you have the nerve to squat in a luxury apartment? I agree. I'll start packing right away, I calmly said and headed to the bedroom. As we crossed paths, Laura smirked at me, saying, Even Eric, making $200,000 a year, had to give up his high-rise condo. Poor Lenora. Who's really the poor one here? I muttered under my breath. Hearing this, Laura scoffed. What? Quit your whining and just pack your stuff already. With Laura's tone in the background, I silently packed up my things. I then placed the suitcase full of their belongings in front of Eric. Here, I've packed all your stuff. Both of you, get out of the apartment now. The story goes back to my student days. My name is Lenora. A family of 4, including my younger sister Laura, my parents, and me. Laura and I have been unlike each other in appearance and character since we were young. I'm tall and unsociable, while Laura is petite and charming. My parents adored Laura like a princess, and she grew up believing that being doted on was normal. I had better grades in school, but when Laura noticed, she began to showcase her superiority in areas other than academics. Whenever my parents tried to compliment my academic achievements, Laura would immediately steer the conversation to how popular she was at school. Who cares about grades? Listen to this. I've been chosen for the lead role in the school play for the cultural festival. Everyone recommended me. My parents quickly showed interest in Laura's exciting news. Wow, that's amazing. Way to go, Laura. You've always been loved by everyone. Good communication skills are more important than studying nowadays, right? Lenora, do you even have friends? You're always reading books, even in middle school. While my parents also showered me with love, Laura seemed not to appreciate even that. Lenora, what would you like for your upcoming birthday gift? I'd like a winter coat. Let's go shopping for it soon. Upon hearing our conversation, Laura immediately told Mom. I'd like a coat for my birthday next month, too. Really? Well, let's go shopping together then. The family shopping trip was entirely dictated by Laura's pace. I want to shop here. The store Laura chose had designs that I'd never wear. Too cute for my taste. I was thinking of something a little more subdued. Oh, come on. It's a hassle to go to different stores, so just pick something from here, Lenora. With that, Laura had me try on a coat she spotted. How about this? Try it on. I'm not really a fan of it. Just try it on. It'll look good on you, trust me. I ended up reluctantly buying the coat Laura had me try on, even though I didn't like the design. On the way home from shopping, Laura discreetly approached me. Lenora, I'm glad you bought it, but that design might not have been the best fit for your plain looks. Even someone like me eventually got a boyfriend in high school. Hey, Lenora, is it true you're dating the baseball team's co-captain? Yeah, I guess. A few days later, Laura announced to me, I'm dating the captain of the baseball team now, Lenora. Oh, really? Your boyfriend is the co-captain, and mine is the captain. I win. Sure you do. Laura always seemed to be competing with me, but it didn't really bother me. Despite my nonchalant attitude, Laura continued to harbor hostility towards me. After I graduated college and got a job at an IT firm, Laura landed a job as a receptionist at a well-known company 2 years later. My company is way more famous than yours, Lenora. Even the recruiters know what's up. I'll have my pick of highly educated, high-earning men. I'll marry rich and then quit. Laura said this with a sense of triumph. It seemed Laura's primary goal was not to work, but to find a wealthy husband at the company. As she declared, Laura dated various men, both inside and outside the company, and she reported each new relationship to me. Don't you have a boyfriend, Lenora? I find my job fascinating at the moment, so I'm not too concerned about having a boyfriend. At this, Laura laughed sarcastically. That's such a not popular excuse, Lenora. In that small company of yours, you're never going to find a decent man. But a year later, I met Eric, and things moved quickly. We got engaged. When I introduced Eric to my family as my fiancé, Laura was genuinely surprised. Lenora, didn't you say you didn't need a boyfriend?
At that time, I really felt that way. Eric quickly jumped in to ease the tension. Laura, love is unpredictable, you know? A cute girl like you would understand what I'm saying.
Yes?
Laura blushingly responded to Eric's smooth smile. Then she leaned in to whisper to me,
Lenora, where did you find such a handsome guy? Is he from your company?
No, we don't work at the same place.
I thought so. There's no way your company could have someone that great. So, is he from a big-name firm? His eloquence makes me think he's global or something, right?
Laura seemed to assume from my vague response that Eric was from a high-profile company. Thanks to Eric's natural social skills, talks about our wedding with my parents went smoothly. We opted for a small ceremony with just close friends and family. Laura kept complaining.
I want to meet Eric's colleagues.
Then Eric and I began our newlywed life. After moving in, we invited my parents and Laura to our new home. Laura was shocked.
No way. This is your new place? This isn't just any upscale apartment in Boston. How much does he earn?
Laura pressed me excitedly.
Does he make around $500K a year? Come on, tell me.
No way, not that much.
So $400K?
No. Finally.
Fine. $200K? Right?
Well, about that, yeah. Laura, having pried the salary out of me, was muttering to herself.
Handsome, eloquent, and high earning? Lenora gets everything.
Then she unilaterally declared a sort of competition.
I'll find a guy who's more handsome and earns more than Eric. You'll see.
After that, Laura became more active in looking for a marriage partner, often attending matchmaking parties. However, a few months later, she started to visit us frequently. And it seemed she was even coming over when I was at work. Hey, Eric, did Laura visit again today? How long was she here? Oh, I don't remember exactly when. I chatted with her a bit, and then she left soon after. Ah, yes, I appreciate your always being there for my family. What are you talking about? Your family is my family, Lenora. Eric's words put me at ease, and I stopped worrying about how often Laura was visiting our home. One day, after coming home from work, I found Eric and Laura sitting together in the living room, waiting for me. Laura, you're here again. What's going on with you two? As I asked, Eric looked serious. Lenora, we need to talk. Please have a seat. Talk about what? The truth is, I want to break up. What? What are you saying? I want to divorce you and marry Laura. Are you kidding me? I have a child with Laura. What? Laura chimed in, grinning.
Sorry, Lenora. I'm in love with Eric. We want to be a happy family with our child, so we need you to step aside.
It turns out Laura had been cheating with Eric all along. While I stood in disbelief, Laura continued.
Ever since you introduced Eric to me, I've been looking for someone better. But finding someone as wonderful as Eric, making $200K a year was hard.
Now that I think about it, Laura did seem unusually interested in Eric. Laura kept going.
Then, I bumped into Eric one day while walking. He was so comforting when I was feeling down. That's when I realized I could just take Eric away from you.
What a selfish mindset. My anger began to boil. Laura didn't notice.
So, I win again, huh? If you step aside, it proves I'm better than you.
I was trembling with rage. Laura's selfish behavior had always been an issue. But I'd let it slide because we're family. Not this time. I cannot sit idly by and be treated in such a terrible way. I wouldn't forgive either of them. Fine, I said calmly.
Oh, great. I knew you'd step aside easily. After all, a plain person like you doesn't deserve someone as great as Eric. So now that it's settled, you'll be packing up and leaving this fancy apartment that's too good for you, right?
Hearing Laura's words, Eric quickly responded. Whoa, hold on. Whether or not I own this apartment doesn't matter. Let's sit down and talk this through. Laura shot him down immediately.
Are you kidding me? You don't even make much money, and you want to stay in a luxury apartment? How shameless.
I agree. I'll start packing now, I said quietly and headed to the bedroom. Passing by, Laura said to me with a laugh.
Aw, poor Lenora, having to give up a $200,000 a year guy like Eric. And a fancy high-rise apartment.
Who's the real loser here? I mumbled under my breath. Hearing that, Laura scoffed.
Excuses, excuses. Just go pack your stuff.
With Laura's voice in the background, I silently packed up. I put all the packed belongings in front of Eric. Here, all of your stuff is in here. Now leave this apartment. Laura looked stunned at my words.
What are you saying? You're the one who's supposed to leave.
No, it's Eric and Laura who need to leave. Both of you.
What are you talking about?
You're the one who said it's shameless to stay in a luxury apartment without making much money, Laura. Eric, you get what I'm saying, right? Could you please explain it to clueless Laura here? Eric spoke in a voice so quiet it could disappear. This apartment isn't mine.
What do you mean?
I didn't buy this apartment. Lenora did, so it's in her name. Laura's face contorted.
Why would you put it in Lenora's name? Eric should be the owner since he makes more.
Eric's voice kept getting softer. My income is actually less than Lenora's.
What? But you make $200K a year.
That $200K is Lenora's salary, not mine.
You're lying.
Finally, it seemed like Laura understood. Our household income is about $200,000, but most of that comes from me. After landing a job at an IT company and overseeing a successful app business, my income had increased significantly, and that's when I met Eric. Back then, I started dating Eric because his cheerful personality was a relief to me during my hectic workdays. I figured that once we got married, he would give up his part-time job lifestyle. But as my income increased, Eric worked less and less. By the time I had told Laura everything, she had turned pale.
Wait, Eric has a job, right? He's not unemployed.
He pretty much is. I stuck around with him because he was emotionally supportive when I was busy. But he's just a man of empty words who eats through our savings. You've done me a favor by taking him off my hands.
But Eric always paid for high-end restaurants on our dates, and even bought me designer clothes. That means he has savings, right?
Hearing Laura, I couldn't help but smirk. That's just Eric, always putting on a show. He's been reckless with his credit card just to impress people. I was the one cleaning up his financial mess. From now on, our accounts will be separate. You two figure out how to handle the bills.
Wait, you mean he was blowing through money on a credit card without savings? Who does that?
Who knows? I can't figure out the mind of a man dumb enough to cheat with his wife's sister. Oh, and the mind of a woman dumb enough to cheat with her sister's husband is beyond me, too.
So you mean my dreams of marriage to a man earning $200K and living a luxurious life in a high-rise condo are shattered?
Without any mercy, I kicked both the pitiful Eric and the crumbling Laura out of my apartment. I quickly finalized my divorce with Eric and also filed for alimony. Neither of them had any say, given they had confessed to their infidelity. They had no choice but to comply with the financial demands. Even after learning that Eric was unemployed, Laura had no option but to marry him because she was pregnant with his child. She hoped that fatherhood would make him more responsible. However, Eric's lazy habits didn't change. Originally, he cheated with Laura, thinking she was richer than me, as she worked for a top-tier company, but he had no intention of working himself. He continued his part-time lifestyle, draining Laura's modest savings to pay off the divorce settlement, leaving no room for credit card debt repayment. Now newlyweds, Laura and Eric sank into a life of debt. They couldn't even afford a new place and had to live in Laura's old apartment. Laura, who quit her job expecting Eric's income, now had to work part-time from dawn till dusk to handle their rising debts and her growing belly. The couple is constantly fighting, becoming the talk of the neighborhood. On the other hand, my savings started to soar as soon as I got rid of Eric. I had plenty of money for self-improvement, and men started showing more interest in me, some of whom even had a higher income than me. If Laura were in my shoes, she would have jumped at the chance. But I know better than to choose a partner based on their income. I won't rush into another marriage like I did with Eric, and make the same mistake. I won't get married until I find someone who truly matches me. I have decided that, and now I am single-mindedly continuing my work.
The day after my surgery, I woke up to find my husband and my mother-in-law in the room. Sorry, I was on a step ladder at work and I fell off.
What are you doing? You're a part-timer, aren't you? Why not leave that to the full-timers? Is this another of your meddling ways?
Can you not talk to me like that? I have to stay in the hospital for a while, so sorry for the inconvenience. Oh, speaking of, I just transferred this month's share of expenses to the bank account. I usually contribute to household expenses with my part-time earnings, but now I'm stuck here. I can't even cook, let alone shop. So I figured at least I can give them money. But my mother-in-law turned it down. We don't need your measly earnings. Can you stop making that? I'm doing my part face. Huh? I had no such intention.
Intention or not, that's the face you're making. We don't need you. I'm here. Besides, how much can a part-timer really make?
It's not a lot, but it's enough to help with groceries.
Sure, whatever.
My mom-in-law's unyielding attitude started to make me angry. I'm the one hurt, but neither of them has shown any concern. Then my husband, Ash, said something unbelievable.
Frankly, you don't need to come back after discharge. You're just a liability. And it's a waste of time and money. Don't expect me to pay your hospital bills.
What?
He's right. It's your own fault you're injured. We're the ones who will have to shoulder the burden, so you should pay us. Why do the useless ones always cost so much?
With that, Ash and my mother-in-law left the room. Both despise any form of expense. So it's no wonder they're angry about me being in the hospital, worrying more about money than about me. I've started to think I shouldn't have married in the first place. A few hours later.
Oh, Miss Granite, long time no see.
Is that you, Jimmy? What brings you here?
I heard you got hurt, so I had to come visit. Just kidding. But I did hear from a former colleague that you're injured, so I took the time to come see you.
Wow, you didn't have to. Aren't you busy?
True, when I got headhunted a few years back, I was thinking of quitting because I wasn't used to the new environment, but thanks to your advice, I come this far. I will never forget that. Thank you so much.
You're making it sound like a big deal.
The person who came to visit me is a former colleague from the company I've used to work at named Mr. James. Everyone, myself included, called him Jimmy. After leaving the company, I would occasionally meet up with old colleagues, but Jimmy had been reassigned and stopped coming. Apparently, he was headhunted by another company and resigned. Back when I was still working at the company, he didn't strike me as particularly competent. I guess he found his calling somewhere and turned into a professional. But I didn't expect him to go out of his way to visit me in the hospital. Coming after seeing Ash and mom-in-law, his kindness felt particularly warm. I was still frustrated from what Ash had said to me earlier, so I vented to Jimmy.
Really? Your husband sounds quite harsh.
This isn't a joke. I'm genuinely frustrated and angry.
Well, I don't get it. Where's your husband seeing incompetence? The Miss Granite I know was far from incompetent. She was a talented worker. You were sorely missed when you left the company.
Work and marriage are different, you know.
Fair point. I've never met your husband. Is he younger than you?
Yes, he is. That's why he's so attached to his mother. They're always together, and instead of defending me, he joins Mom in complaining about me. It's so annoying. Thanks though, Jimmy. Talking to you lightened my mood a bit. Once I'm better, let's go out for a meal and invite others too.
Absolutely. I'll come by again when I have some time.
And with that, Jimmy left the hospital room. He's like a close female friend in some ways. He's the same age as my husband, but he's so much more mature in what he says and does. The difference between them makes me indescribable. Well, I chose Ash, so it's also my fault. Later, I began rehabilitation. During my hospital stay, all I could think about was wanting to go home as soon as possible. But if I go home, Ash and Mom-in-law will be there. I'd rather stay in the hospital It's far less stressful. 2 weeks later, Ash comes to visit again, bringing mother-in-law with him. What do you want? Didn't you say I shouldn't bother coming home if I'm incompetent? Yet here you are, visiting me again.
Hey, aren't you happy I came to see you?
Frankly, if you're going to complain, you don't have to visit at all.
Oh, easy there. Why are you so mad? I haven't even said anything yet.
See, that's why our child acts distant with you. You always have this cold demeanor. Consider other people's feelings for once. That's why you end up hospitalized.
Here we go again. Whenever Ash is criticized, mother-in-law goes all in with her supported fire. Even though it's a conversation between husband and wife, things never move forward when she chimes in. That's why I stay quiet when mom-in-law intervenes. Arguing back would only lead to more counter-arguments, and I'd be the one blamed in the end. This time, I was patiently waiting for the storm to pass, but it showed no sign of stopping. Worse still, they started talking about Ash's girlfriend.
My son was thinking of marrying someone else before you, but they broke up over a trivial argument. He would have made amends if he'd apologized, but his pride's so high. He said he'd never apologize because it was her fault.
Look, it really was her fault. I did nothing wrong. Sure, she had a good personality and was attractive. In hindsight, maybe I should have apologized. Then I would be married to someone useless like you.
See, that's what I've been saying from the beginning. Are you sure you want to be with her? I always knew it was a bad idea. This proves I was right.
It's just a fluke. I happened to choose an unsuitable partner this time. I'll be more careful choosing someone with similar sensibilities next time.
The conversation was unbearable. I'm not the patient type to keep quiet forever. Moreover, this guy just mentioned choosing another partner. It seemed like he had thoughts of divorcing me. Well, it'll be a dream come true for me too. Frustrated, I let loose my anger on Ash and mother-in-law. You would have a lot to say, but this is just ridiculous. You mentioned I'm an unsuitable partner, but you're not even good enough to be called that. Initially, I thought you were decent, but it turns out you're just a mama's boy. Plus, mom is so fond of her son. Why don't you two just live together forever? Then no one would end up this unsuitable partner like me. You two seem to get along so well, why not? After saying all this, I felt a mix of regret and relief. What was funny though was the way both of their expressions changed from surprise to tense as I was saying this.
Who do you think you're talking to? Where are your parents? What's with the attitude? For someone so useless, you sure know how to run your mouth.
Mom, there it is. You're quick to call people incompetent, but are you so well-rounded yourself? Must be nice being perfect at your job at home, huh? You're really something. When I sarcastically praised mom-in-law, her face turned even redder.
How dare you act so smug? Who do you think you are?
I'm the patient here.
You little...
Just then, Ash intervened.
Hey, enough is enough. From where I stand, you're way more incompetent than Mom. Mom raised me all by herself while holding down a job. Could you do that?
I wouldn't know. I've never been in that situation. But if I were a parent, I'd teach my kids not to look down on others. It's not cool to call people incompetent, especially someone who's hospitalized.
I see. Well, it's clear. We've never been a good match. Let's divorce. No point in staying together after all this.
Fine by me. You were talking about being cautious with your next partner, right? That implies we're done. I wouldn't want to spend my life with you. Or your mother anyway.
Huh. You do realize you'll be financially unstable if we divorce, right? How are you gonna afford these hospital bills? Let alone your living expenses.
I got injured at work, so I'll get workers' compensation.
And after that, got no plans, huh?
Ash had a point. Even if I plan on finding a job immediately after the divorce, there's no guarantee that I'll find one quickly. Plus, it will take time to see any income. The situation isn't looking good. I need to figure something out before it's too late. I have been vocal until now, but the moment I stopped talking, they took the opportunity to go on the offensive.
So you haven't thought it through? Tough break. But what's said is said. We both want this divorce. If you promise to obey me like a housemaid from now on, I might reconsider. Right, Mom?
Yes, absolutely.
Not happening. Can you please leave? You're polluting the air.
You're a piece of work. Don't say I didn't warn you. You threw away your last chance.
With that, Ash and Mom-in-law left the room, sneering. I have to find a job soon. My current workplace won't cut it. I'll go anywhere that offers full-time employment. Just a few minutes later, Ash returned to the room.
Hey.
What?
No, my boss was around. Just let me hide here until he's out of sight.
Come to think of it, Ash had been complaining about his current boss a lot lately. Apparently, Ash had been enjoying a slack job until this new boss came and shook up the department.
Why is he coming this way? Could he be next door?
What? Just then, there's a knock at the hospital room door. Ash shakes his head at me. I find his discomfort quite amusing. With a cheerful tone, I say, "Come on in." To my surprise, it's Jimmy who walks in.
Miss Granite, I had some free time, so I thought I'd come visit you. Wait, what are you doing here? Oh, Mr. James, good to see you. Huh? Oh, you must be Miss Granite's husband.
Yes, that's him. Did I introduce you to Ash, Jimmy? I think this is your first time meeting.
No, actually, we see each other every day. He's my subordinate right now.
What? Really? It turns out, of all people, Jimmy is Ash's boss. Totally unexpected. Yet, it strikes me as an opportunity for a counterattack. I'm in a really good position right now. Might as well corner Ash gradually. So, Jimmy, how's Ash's performance at work?
Hard to say in front of Miss Granite. He has areas for improvement, but the fact that he's sticking to it is admirable. We had drinks the other day, and he told me he respects me, so my expectations are high.
When I look at Ash, he's staring at the floor, fists clench. He's probably thinking, "Don't say anything." So I decide to go ahead and speak. You know, my husband mentioned something about his boss. Turns out that was you, Jimmy. But I wonder if I should say this.
Go ahead, no worries. Hey, Granite.
My new boss is so incompetent. He doesn't get me at all, or I'm only drinking with him to gain his favor. I'll bring him down someday. I recorded all our conversations. He won't make a single mistake. And so on. Sorry if I had known it was you, Jimmy. I would have told you so much sooner. Upon hearing this, Jimmy's expression changes, and he shoots Ash a piercing glare.
No, you're wrong, Mr. James. This is all a lie Gwyneth made up.
Jimmy, would you like to hear a recorded conversation I have that says otherwise?
Yes, please. Stop it.
I then play the audio for Jimmy where Ash was complaining non-stop.
Wow, I see. Thank you, Miss Granite. Never thought he'd be saying stuff like this. No need for me to cover for him anymore. What? What are you talking about?
You've been swiping office supplies, haven't you?
What?
Did you know we have surveillance cameras around the office? Maybe you thought no one checks them.
There have been complaints about supplies disappearing or running out quickly. When we investigated, we found you were the one taking them. I was planning to question you about it soon, but now I'll just report this to the boss. Wait, what happens to me then?
That's for the boss to decide. Don't know if you'll even be able to stay in your current department or the company for that matter.
You can't.
Oh, by the way, Miss Granite, how about working for a company? We'd be better off with you than him. Really? Is that okay?
It's fine. We'll likely have an opening soon.
Jimmy turned to face Ash. I'd be delighted to be under Jimmy. I'll make sure not to get too familiar with you. Don't worry about it.
You scum.
You asked me earlier what I'd do after leaving the hospital. Remember? Now it's my turn to ask.
What will you do without a job?
Shut up!
If you listen to me, I might consider letting you and your mother-in-law be my personal servants.
Who would do that?
Oh, I see. Then you and your mother-in-law will be out on the streets.
So, if I become your servant, will you help us?
No way. I don't need a servant like you.
What?
So you have to try your best holding hands with your beloved mom.
And so the episode came to a close. Later on, Ash was questioned by the company about the missing supplies and found to be reselling them. He was effectively fired. It was questioned by the police. Now he's being supported by his mother-in-law's pension. Life's being tough. Even putting food on the table is a challenge. As for me, I started working under Jimmy. Although it took a bit to get back into the swing of things, I quickly adapted and became a valuable member of the team. Work is really enjoyable. I guess as long as I have my job, life is good. If I ever consider remarrying, I think I'll consult with someone first.
My name is Cassie. I'm 35 years old. I married Wilfred 5 years ago. We initially wanted to have kids and even went through preconception care, but it just didn't happen. It was emotionally and physically draining, so we decided to give up on having children. I still love kids, and sometimes when I see a baby, I think, I wish we could have had one. But life with just Wilfred is peaceful, and I've come to appreciate that. Then one day, my brother-in-law and his wife showed up unexpectedly. Wilfred was at work, but I work from home, so I answered the door. To my surprise, my brother-in-law Curtis and his wife Isadora had large carry-on bags with them. Going on a trip? My guess was right. Isadora said, "Long time no see, Cassie. We're actually going to Bali." I really don't like Isadora. She and Curtis got married before Wilfred and I did. She once said to us, "You two are a perfect match, both missing the marriage boat." And I found it incredibly rude. Isadora loves to brag about Curtis working at a top-tier company. She never misses an opportunity to say, "My Curtis works at a prestigious company." And it's always annoying. What I hate the most is her making fun of our infertility. She knew we were doing preconception care, but said, "Doesn't preconception care feel unnatural? Will a child born that way even grow up properly? A naturally born child is always best, like our daughter Sasha." So it wasn't surprising that she came to brag about her trip to Bali. I was about to say, "Have a good trip," and close the door when Isadora said, "Wait," and pushed her 3-year-old daughter, Sasha, towards me. "We came to leave Sasha with you. She's too young to appreciate Bali. We'll be gone for a week, so take good care of her." "Excuse me?" Still stunned, Isadora went on. "Sasha has dry skin, so please apply cream after her bath. Oh, and she usually goes to bed at 8, so make sure she's asleep by then. She's potty training, so take her to the toilet as much as possible. And absolutely no eggs. She's allergic." "Wait, what?" "No, I can't do this. You can't just drop this on me." I tried to refuse her overwhelming demands, but Isadora ignored me. She tilted her head and smirked. "Cassie, you were doing preconception care, right? You wanted kids. I thought you'd be happy to look after a child you couldn't have, even if it's just for a week." Her words were so shocking, I couldn't say anything. Isadora dropped one more bombshell before leaving. "Take good care of Sasha. Oh, and don't leave her with my mother-in-law. I can't stand her." "Sasha, listen to your aunt, okay?" Curtis patted Sasha's head, and they left for their trip. Sasha and I stood dumbfounded at the doorway. When she realized she'd been left behind, she started to cry. I hurriedly took her inside. I'd wanted kids but had almost no experience with them. I didn't know what to do with a crying Sasha, so I tried to soothe her by saying, "It's okay," and showing her some cartoons on TV. Finally, she calmed down. Sasha had a small backpack with 3 diapers and a change of clothes for 1 day. Even with no parenting experience, I knew this wasn't enough for a week. Isadora often says, "This is why poor people," about us. But if she thinks we're poor, why didn't she leave any money for Sasha's care? My frustration grew. Isadora hates my mother-in-law, but I don't. I immediately called her for help. "I'm sorry to ask this so suddenly," I explained over the phone. "Oh my, what a situation!" she exclaimed and rushed over. My mother-in-law is straightforward, and often misunderstood as harsh, but I like her cheerful and no-nonsense personality. "Grandma!" "Sasha, long time no see. How have you been?" Sasha was thrilled to see her. Isadora never visited her in-laws, but when she was away for work, Curtis would often leave Sasha with my mother-in-law. Of course, we kept it a secret from Isadora. "My Sasha has become quite the talker. Curtis can't keep secrets, so he stopped leaving her with me. It's nice to see Sasha after so long," said my mother-in-law, genuinely happy. Sasha seemed happy too. So when my mother-in-law asked if she could take her, I said, "Please do." That night, Wilfred came home. When I told him what happened, he was furious. "Isadora knew we wanted kids, and still said that?" "You handled it well, Cassie. I would have lost my temper," he said, making me feel a bit better. A week later, a tanned Curtis and Isadora came to pick up Sasha. Wilfred had taken the day off, so we both confronted them. When we told them we'd left Sasha with my mother-in-law, Isadora's face twisted in anger. "I told you not to leave her with my mother-in-law. I hate her. Sasha likes her for some reason, and it bothers me." "Isadora, could you not openly say you hate someone's mother? It's rude," Wilfred calmly replied. Isadora glared at me. "I left Sasha with you out of goodwill. You both wanted kids, so I thought you should experience what it's like. It's not all fun and games, and you trampled on my goodwill by not even listening to my simple request. That's low." Her audacity left me cold. I snapped. People probably got mad at this. I confronted Isadora with the words that came to my mind, which had become strangely calm. "The ones who are low are you and Curtis." "What? Why didn't you take Sasha on your trip? You say she's too young to appreciate Bali, but you just didn't want the hassle. And leaving her for a week with only 3 diapers and 1 change of clothes, what's that about?" "Well, would you normally leave your egg-allergic child with someone else, even a relative? Allergies can be life-threatening, and Sasha cried when you left. Did you even consider how she'd feel being abandoned for a week?" Isadora and Curtis were speechless. Finally, Isadora forced out some words. "But I left Sasha with you out of goodwill, Cassie. You work from home. You have time. We're family. You could help a little with childcare. Or is it because you're poor and you didn't get paid for babysitting?" As I sighed at Isadora's relentless need to belittle me, Wilfred, standing next to me, spoke up. "Listen, Isadora, you keep calling us poor, but I think we earn more than you do. I work for a top international company, and Cassie makes twice as much as Curtis." As he said this, he pointed to a character merchandise displayed in our entryway. "Recognize this character? Cassie designed it." "What?" Isadora and Curtis looked stunned, and for good reason. I'd never told them, not wanting to brag. But I was the designer of a character everyone knows. Designing its illustrations and merchandise is my main job, but I also illustrate children's books and create corporate mascots. I'm far from idle at home. I had no idea Cassie was such an amazing illustrator.
Hey, Cassie, give me an autograph. I want to show off at work.
I couldn't hide my disdain as Curtis stepped forward, ignoring his stunned wife, and asked for an autograph. No. I refused, but he kept begging.
Come on, please.
Just then, my mother-in-law walked up from behind Isadora and Curtis.
Ah, Mom.
Wilfred noticed her, and Isadora quickly turned around. Isabella told her mother-in-law to bite. Mother-in-law, thank you for taking care of Sasha. We'll take her back now. No, I'll keep Sasha for a while longer.
What? What are you talking about, Mom?
Isadora and Curtis half smiled, thinking my mother-in-law was joking, but she was serious. Have you been feeding Sasha properly? My mother-in-law had been concerned that Sasha was smaller than other kids her age. After cooking for her every day, being mindful of her egg allergy, Sasha had said, Mom and Dad never cook. It seems that Isadora and Curtis found it too much of a hassle to prepare meals for their 2-year-old daughter Sasha, who has an egg allergy, so they've been giving her store-bought baby food. You can't blame anyone for calling this neglect. I've reported you to Child Protective Services. I've also offered to take care of Sasha for a while, so you two should go home, said the mother-in-law, who had worked as a public health nurse for many years and was very knowledgeable about child development. Although she had always been suspicious, she had turned a blind eye, thinking it was wrong to doubt her own son and his wife. But after spending a week together, she decided that she couldn't ignore the situation any longer. After a heated argument at the front door, Isadora and Curtis retreated, unable to withstand the mother-in-law's forcefulness. I'm sorry for causing such a scene. Don't worry, I'll take care of Sasha, she said before leaving. Within a month of this big commotion, Curtis showed up unannounced at our house. Apparently, his affair had been discovered. He had lied about going on a business trip abroad and was caught meeting his mistress. Isadora kicked him out. Initially, he went to his parents' house, but since Sasha was there, his father-in-law kicked him out, and he had no choice but to come to our place. Of course, we have no obligation to hide Curtis at our house, so Wilfred and I flatly refused. We have no obligation to harbor you. Why don't you find a hotel? We told him. And he left, shoulders slumped. In the end, Isadora and Curtis divorced. Curtis gained sole custody and moved back in with his parents after apologizing. I've heard from my mother-in-law that he's working hard to be a good dad to Sasha now, I learned. Isadora, who had not been properly raising Sasha, lost custody and broke down crying during the negotiations. She quit her job and returned to her parents' home in the countryside. It was pitiful to see Isadora, who had always acted so superior, end up broken and retreating to the countryside. Auntie, did you come to play again today? Yeah, what should we play today? Let's play house. You be the baby, and Sasha would be the mom. Sure. I started visiting my in-laws to play with Sasha during my work breaks. Both my in-laws and Curtis, who works during the day, are grateful for it.
I really appreciate you being so good to Sasha,
Curtis told me recently. But even without their gratitude, I'm just happy to be friends with Sasha. When she lived with Isadora and Curtis, she often had a doll-like expression. But now she shows a lively, childlike smile. And above all, I love my picture books. And she absolutely loved the picture books I bring from work, which boosts my motivation even more.